let's talk about the Tiger King.
I am gay. I'm broke as
No, not you, you clown. Jeez. So, Joe Burrow has played 2 games in the NFL so far. And if you did not know and you were living under a rock, Joe Burrow was the number 1 overall pick from this past draft. And so far, he has beyond lived up to it. Now, there have been people who are crowning him as, a Hall of Famer already. There are some people who say, let's just wait and see. I'm not too impressed. And then there's some people who are like me who say, wow, this is the starting point. Let's see where this goes from here. So I want to talk about Joe Burrow because, I've been hearing a lot about Burrow over the last few days. Before the Browns game, after the Browns game, Joe Burrow has been the talking point of, the news in the NFL. And, there are a lot of people who are basically saying, this is ridiculous. The guy's played 2 games. What are you doing? Why does everybody want to crown him so quickly? What has he done? Well, here's the deal. Here's why, if you're a Bengals fan, why you should be very, very happy about Joe Burrow. Because, number one, what I thought that Joe Burrow I thought he was going to be a good quarterback. But I thought he was going to struggle a lot really early. Because you go back to his first year at LSU, it was not great. It wasn't terrible, but it was not great. It was, just above average, solid. A lot of the pro scouts, whatever, your, not Schefters, but your, I forget the name, Mel Kipers, there you go. Your Mel Kipers of the world were saying, 5th, 6th round pick, solid, something to work with. To a year later, sure, number 1 pick, no question. Now, if Tua Tagovailoa was healthy, it probably would have been a little bit more competitive as far as that number 1 pick, just based off of what you've seen over the course of the college career. But based on 1 year, Joe Burrow, nobody better. I mean, when you go off of 1 year as a college quarterback, he was fantastic. And, I took that and I thought, what, this kid, he's in a crowded Ohio State quarterback room. He's learned under, Urban Meyer, been in that system, winning culture. And then he leaves and goes to LSU. And, he showed up a little bit later in that first year. And I think that might have something to do with it. But then he turned around, got Joe Brady. Everything started to click. But coming into the NFL, how much of that's going to roll over? Because there's been plenty of guys who look like the sure number 1 overall pick, or at least competitive for the number 1 overall pick, and have not lived up to expectation, or have not even shown, really flashes. And when you're looking most recently at guys who, everybody was saying was going to be the number 1 overall pick, but hasn't really shown it, in my opinion, that's kind of like where Sam Darnold's at. Now, it's not Sam Darnold's fault by any means, but there's a lot of pressure there. Even though he wasn't the number 1 overall pick, there's a lot of pressure there. So, with Burrow, there was a lot on his plate. But the one thing that Joe Burrow has done consistently in his career, whether if it be college now to the NFL, he's calm. He's cool, he's calm, he's collected. He does what he's supposed to do. Joe Burrow does not fear pressure. Pressure fears Joe Burrow. That's just how it is. Now, when it comes to the Cincinnati Bengals, they got a lot of work to do because, in his first game, the passing game was not there, or at least not what it was against the Cleveland Browns. And I am a Browns fan, so I can tell you that secondary was not good at all. It's basically Denzel Ward, who did a great job, shut down A.J. Green, and then it's really nobody. Money Mitch was starting, and he's really a third or fourth corner, on the depth chart. And not saying that's a bad thing, but it's not like he was facing a super strong secondary. But there's a lot of positives you can take away from that, even against a bad secondary like Cleveland had. So Burrow, like I said, calm, cool, collected in every game that I've seen him play in. And that's what I've seen from him in Cleveland, or when they played the Browns. Even though, because I went back and watched that game again, just because obviously as a Browns fan watching the first time, I was paying close attention to us. But I wanted to go back and I wanted to kind of break down just the little things, the little aspects, what could have changed the game. One thing I noticed with Joe Burrow is there's a couple of things that he's trying in the NFL that he did in college that just aren't going to work. What you seen when Sheldon Richardson absolutely dropped him, Joe Burrow was just trying to spin out of that. As an NFL quarterback, you got to be much more quicker and athletic to do that in the NFL. And I'm not saying he's not, because he is very quick. He's very athletic for a quarterback of his style and his stature at 6'4", whatever he weighs. But those are things that he could do in college that you just can't do in the NFL. And he's going to learn those things over time. But, what you look at Joe Burrow, there's nothing, when you look at the quarterbacks, normally you can point to that's one thing he does very well. Like, you got to be great at something. Joe Burrow he's not a great arm talent. I mean, he's really good, but he's not, it's not like he doesn't have like the Josh Allen arm strength. Baker's accuracy coming out of college. It's not like Burrow was accurate like that. And I know there's people rolling their eyes. Listen, I'm a Browns fan. Baker's not been good the last year, but what you seen last night with that accuracy, that's what he did year one. That's what he did in college. That's what I'm talking about. So, and that's what made Baker the number one overall pick. The quick, sharp throws, accuracy, that deal. It's not like that's Burrow's skill set. His skill set, his greatest strength is that being calm and just, performing. It's that simple. It's not like you can really put your finger on it, but he's smart. Excuse me. He plays like a multi-year NFL vet as a rookie. Now, he is older. He has learned from a lot of players that have been in front of him, a lot of big-time names at big-time programs. But he has an ability to sit back with pressure in his face, not freak out, not bail out of a pocket, not, you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't get flustered. He'll move around, he'll get where he needs to be, and he'll find his man. And that's what makes him great. Now, if he's doing that at such a high level already, he's going to get better in the accuracy, where to go with the football, how much velocity, how much air he needs to put on. He's going to get better at all those things. Right now, he's just showing the mental side of it, the X's and O's. Okay, this is where the ball needs to be. Okay, here, you know what I mean? Like, if he's that good at that already, he's going to be dangerous. Now, my concerns with Joe Burrow are not with Joe Burrow. They're with the Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals need to protect him. They need to protect him. Look at Andrew Luck. Look at the Indianapolis Colts. Why did Andrew Luck have to retire early? Because he got beat up. And when they finally did get an offensive line, it was way too late, and then he ends up retiring. The Cincinnati Bengals, they normally don't spend money. They don't. And they have a lot of work to do rebuilding, especially defensively, and a couple other pieces. But Their number one focus, even if they can do it during the season, rebuild that offensive line. I know they have a lot of pieces that they thought were going to work out, like the center Billy Price out of Ohio State. I thought he was going to be good. From what I've seen, he's not lived up to my expectations. They draft Michael Jordan out of Ohio State, who played center to play guard. I think he started last night. They need a lot of work. They have got to build that offensive line, because Joe Burrow is not afraid to take hits. He's not. And the Browns were smacking him upside the head almost every single play. You had guys who were not starters, who are second and third string defensive players, with Olivier Vernon out, and then you seen Adrian Claiborne step in. He was hitting him. And then after that, Adrian Claiborne gets hurt, and Porter Gustin comes in, and he's laying the smack down on Joe Burrow, lighting him up almost every single play. And we already talked about Sheldon Richardson. Myles Garrett got himself a few solid hits on him. You can't take that. And my concern with the Bengals is, you look at this division. You got 2 games against the Pittsburgh Steelers in that defense. That defensive line is stacked. The linebackers, stacked. DBs, even though they didn't look as great in game 1, they're going to get there. Minkah Fitzpatrick, Joe Hayden, Nelson, those guys are going to get it together. And they already looked fantastic. They just, Danny Dimes, couple things, picked them apart a little bit there. Burrow's not going to have that luxury. TJ Watt and them boys are going to get to him. And then you go to Baltimore. Calais Campbell, Derek Wolfe, Matthew Judon. They draft Patrick Queen. Those guys are going to get to Joe Burrow. And then Cleveland again. Myles Garrett, Sheldon Richardson, if Olivier Vernon's playing, who knows? They have guys who are going to get to Joe Burrow and hit him. Now, the difference between Baltimore, Pittsburgh, compared to Cleveland is Baltimore and Pittsburgh have the secondaries right now to force Joe Burrow to hold on to the football. Cleveland right now, we'll see with the injuries if guys can get back healthy. They'll do Cleveland will do a much better job the second Bengals game defensively. But they're nowhere near Baltimore or Pittsburgh as far as, secondary goes. But Burrow has got to – he can't be taking these hits. You cannot throw the ball 60 times a game. You can't do it. And, great. You want the ball in Burrow's hands. You can't do that. You just paid Joe Mixon a big contract. Now one of your tight ends is out for the year. You've got to find ways to get creative that don't have Joe Burrow holding on to the football. And I'm serious. I'm dead serious. The Bengals very well could risk their franchise quarterback long term if they don't seriously protect him. Because you can stand back there and take hits all day. It's going to catch up to you, And Burrow is one of the older rookies. I think he's like 24, 25. He's older than Lamar Jackson. I think he might be about the same age as Baker. I don't know. But I'm saying, it's just hard to explain, but simply you got to protect him. You have to. No matter how good he is, you got to protect him. And, I'd like to see the Bengals go out and get Penei Sewell. I know they believe in Jonah Williams. I didn't see anything from him game 2 against the Browns. Like I said, I didn't watch game 1 against Chargers very closely, but from what I hear, Bosa was embarrassing them. So they got a lot of work to do, and I really would like to see the Bengals go out and get a speed receiver. Yes, they have John Ross. He's a bust. That was a waste of a pick, and you know, I don't want to be rude, but with this kind of offense that you have to work with, you want to get Burrow the ball out of his hands quick. You kind of need a speed guy, and John Ross is not good enough as a receiver. I'd like to see them go out and get like a Rondale Moore, Chris Olave, one of these guys who can catch the football, but at the same time are quick, fast, good route runners. You know what I mean? So the Bengals got a lot of work, but you have to be very excited about Joe Burrow because, this is only the start. This is only the start with him. And, like I said, if you can protect him, if you can add a few pieces around him, as far as the offense goes, that's going to be very, very hard to stop because when you watch that Cleveland game again, the Browns controlled the game. They did. They controlled the game, and the Bengals had a lot of costly mistakes. But the Browns had control of that game from pretty much start to finish. Now, they almost gave it up after that bad interception. But, everybody's talking about, the Browns edged them out, and Burrow, Burrow looks better than Baker, and that's all I'm hearing. The Browns controlled the game. Burrow did not give up. Burrow fought to the end, no matter how hard, no matter what the Browns were doing to them, he fought. And, I really do think that's what got the best out of Baker because I felt like Baker went into that game going, I'm not about to be embarrassed by a rookie. I'm the number 1 overall pick, too. I got to reprove myself. So, it's like I said before, this is no longer the Battle of Ohio. This is the war for Ohio between these two quarterbacks. So, as far as Joe Burrow's future, everything's great. But, we said the same thing about Andrew Luck. And Andrew Luck had a good career. He did. But it catches up to you. So, the Bengals, let it be a lesson to you. Let it be a lesson. And they got a long ways to go. And I do think, I said that the Bengals were going to get maybe, 4 or 5 wins this year. I could see them, they're going to be really competitive. And I'm not just saying that because they beat us. And I'm not saying like we're good and, we're going to be unbeatable and they hung with us. No, it's not what I mean. Joe Burrow is going to keep you in pretty much anybody you play for the most part. I mean, the Chargers had a pretty good defense, kept it close. They probably should have won that game. The Browns just outscored them. It's that simple. But it's going to be interesting to see what he does against the really good defenses, the Baltimores, the Pittsburghs. That's really what you're going to want to watch. As far as the wins go, I really don't know. But it's clear to Cincinnati that they have a guy, or not a guy, they have the guy as far as the quarterback goes. They just got to really focus in around helping him. Your receiving weapons are fine, like I said. Other than I would like to see them replace John Ross and get another speed guy. But the offensive line got to rebuild. Especially, like I said, with this division. So, Bengals have a very promising future. It's just, what are the next steps? And, is it fair to give Burrow Hall of Fame status right now? No, absolutely not. But when you're looking at a guy who had one really good year and you take a fly on him, draft him number 1 overall, to see this so quickly as far as the things from college, the calm presence, the consistency, finding the right man, That's huge. That's huge. And, this AFC North, it's insane. Pittsburgh, if they draft the right quarterback once Ben leaves, this is any man for the taking, really. So it's going to be interesting to watch, but Joe Burrow certainly, he's the real deal. He definitely is the real deal, and he's only going to get better from here. It's like what I said with Lamar Jackson. I've been very hard on Lamar Jackson. He has proved me wrong every single year, taking huge jumps of improvement. Joe Burrow is already really good to great. I believe he's going to be, I don't want to go too far. I don't want to say like a top 5, but he's certainly going to be up there in the top 10 within the next 1 to 2 years. It just all depends what they can do with him and help him. Because it's not like he needs a perfect line. He just needs to not get hit. So that's the deal with Joe Burrow. If you're a Bengals fan, you got to be happy. You got to be really happy. And like I said, there's a lot of work to do. But as far as being optimistic on the future, great. So that's it for me. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Go Browns.